Hello, I am Iannis and I will present to you our work, The Effect of Auditory-Motor Synchronization in Exergames on the example of the VR rhythm game BeatSaber, on behalf of my co-authors Nicole Burkard, Dirk, Queck and Marc Herrlich. Exertion games, or short Exergames, are a promising way to keep players motivated to stay physically active by combining exercising with playful elements. In general, music has also proven to be able to positively influence psychological and physiological variables and even performance in exercise and rehabilitation contexts, especially when the rhythm of the movements in music are synchronized, an effect often referred to as auditory-motor synchronization. So in this work, we focus on how the play experience and performance in Exergames may benefit from the use of auditory-motor synchronization by coupling the gameplay to the rhythm of the music. There already is a considerable market for the genre of rhythm games that rely heavily on this exact concept, such as Konami's Dance Dance Revolution or the VR game BeatSaber. However, to our knowledge, only little research exists on the effects of the synchronization itself in the context of Exergames. While traditional research in sports science often focuses on the synchronization of music with periodic movements such as running, cycling, and rowing, rhythm games often feature more reaction or memory-based gameplay, require more varied movement, and may introduce a significant cognitive overhead. To investigate the effects of different degrees of auditory-motor synchronization, we conducted a study with 54 participants at the University of Kaiserslautern. In the study, participants played a level we designed for the VR game BeatSaber under different conditions with varying degrees of synchronization between gameplay and music. We decided for BeatSaber because of its popularity as a VR game, its strong coupling to active rhythmic movement, its customization possibilities, and its potential for exercise use. In the game, players have to cut through the blocks, called notes, coming towards them with the virtual lightsabers in their hands. They have to match the color of the note by using the saber with the same color and the cutting direction that is indicated on them by arrows. Players also have to avoid bombs with the sabers and walls coming towards them with their heads. The combination of these gameplay elements in a rapid sequence can lead to considerable cognitive overhead and complex and exhausting movements. Typically, the gameplay and resulting movements are tightly coupled to the rhythmic features of the music. Participants played our BeatSaber level under 3 different conditions. Gameplay-wise, the level was always the same, featured the same tempo and the same song accompanying it. However, the degree of synchronization between the rhythms of gameplay and music varied across conditions. In the synchronized condition, they were aligned perfectly, as is typical for rhythm games. Here is an example of that. In the offset condition, the music was shifted, so it was always 3 beats delayed with respect to the gameplay elements it was intended to align with. Finally, in the non-synchronized condition, the tempo of the music was altered, so it did not fit the gameplay at all. We measured the differences of several variables between conditions. Performance was measured by the player's score in the level as well as the percentage of correctly hit notes. Task load, general enjoyment, and the player experience dimensions challenge, perceived mastery, and immersion were gathered with the player experience inventory and NASA TLX questionnaires. As a physiological variable, we measured the heart rate of the participants. We also asked for participants' fitness level, gaming and VR experience, as well as experience in dancing and playing musical instruments as potential moderating factors. We analyzed the resulting data using a repeated measures ANOVA and detected significant differences across conditions for scores of NASA TLX and its subdimensions temporal demand and frustration, for enjoyment, perceived challenge, and player experience in general, especially between the synchronized and non-synchronized conditions. No significant effects were found for performance measures and heart rate. However, we found that there seemed to be 2 groups of participants with very different results. In the experiment, we asked participants to what extent they noticed the differences between the experimental conditions. The effects across conditions among those who correctly perceived the synchronization differences were much more pronounced than among those who perceived them wrongly or not at all. For the perceiver group, as we will call them here in contrast to the non-perceiver group, we found additional significant effects for hit rate as well as perceived performance. However, among the non-perceiver group, no significant effects were found at all. While these results indicate that the degree of auditory-motor synchronization may have significant effects on cognitive load, player experience, and performance, it also seems to be dependent on the ability of the player to consciously recognize the synchronization differences. Beforehand, we expected more subconscious effects, but the results as well as observations and feedback of participants suggest that only those participants who noticed the differences could use the synchronization to their advantage and were irritated by the lack of it on the other hand. We suggest that researchers in the area of games research investigating the effects of music, especially with respect to rhythm, should pay attention to the individual musical but also gaming experience of participants, as they may moderate the effects. Our study suggests that in the context of active games, the ability to synchronize with the rhythm of the music, to benefit from this kind of synchronization, can be highly individual. Of course, there are some limitations here concerning generalizability of the study, because of sample bias and the question if BeatSaber is representative of other Exergames. For example, it is pretty lenient with respect to timing. The effects might even be more pronounced when exact timing is a more important performance factor. The role of virtual reality is also still unknown here. Related work seems to indicate that auditive stimuli have less influence in VR, because users are preoccupied with the visual information. But does this also hold for more music-focused experiences like rhythm games? Future work can also explore how auditory-motor synchronization can be utilized further in active games, for instance, to facilitate memorization of movement patterns, offer additional auditory guidance to perform intended movements, or mediate mood and exercise intensity. For further details on our study, please refer to our paper or feel free to contact us. Thank you for watching.